Bag it up.
Stop using porn as your sex ed and start using condoms. What is going to happen when this pandemic is over and we start having sex again?
STI rates are going to spike.
Absolutely they are.
Is that
They've
what it is
already
about?
spiked. Yeah. So we talked about this a little bit on the podcast, but there was another article that came out about it, and I wanted to talk about it again because I know things get lost in the shuffle, and this is just really important, and I think it's something we should chat about.
Let's do it.
This week, in its annual STD surveillance report, the CDC confirmed what physicians and doctors had already suspected, and that is that in 2019, the most recent year for which data was collected, they didn't do it last year, we set a record for the most reported cases of STIs. So in 2018, it was estimated that 1 in 5 Americans had STIs. That's about 68 million people. And at least 26 million new infections were contracted during 2019 alone. A couple things to pull out. Chlamydia hit an all-time peak. Gonorrhea and syphilis, along with congenital infections and newborn deaths, were also at their highest rates. And this is really, specifically for syphilis, this is really alarming because it had almost been like totally eradicated prior to this.
Damn.
And now it's on the rise again, which is no bueno.
Yeah.
So what was intriguing, we've talked about on this podcast how the pandemic was a sexual damper for a lot of people. And so doctors and physicians were predicting that potentially during this pandemic we would see a decrease of STIs. And I think we saw that to be true for the beginning of the pandemic. People were very much on their own sex hiatus. We were just like scared. We weren't going out as much. But fear of infection is only so powerful, and people got too horny and they started hooking up again. So, and so people did start hooking up again. That, coupled with the fact that the CDC, that 2/3 of public sexual health clinics were forced to cut back on their services or shut their doors entirely in 2020 in order to readjust and to reroute their services to help with the COVID pandemic. We are seeing a massive rise in infection rates across all lines, so in all races, genders, and age. And this is influenced in part by drug use, poverty, unstable housing, and stigma, but it's also just because people are being really irresponsible when they're having sex, aka they're not using condoms.
Yeah. Sorry. I know I talked about this like in the beginning episode, one of the beginning episodes. It's the 2019 results that we knew.
This is all they have because 2020 they didn't do them.
Right.
Because so many clinics have been shut down. Like I know that in New York there's only one open.
A testing site, you mean? Yeah.
Which is crazy.
I know, yeah, because they had to reallocate all the sources. I've been seeing a lot of buzz about condoms. There was this article I was looking at, like the quest to make condoms
cool again,
to make the perfect one, and the perfect one being that like you don't feel it. And I think that people view condoms as a pregnancy, like birth control, rather than an STI control. You know, instead of protecting them against STIs, people are more concerned with like not getting pregnant.
I think in general that's true. I think if we surveyed people, they would say my number one fear in sex is pregnancy.
Yeah.
Probably not STIs.
And so if you're on birth control or an IUD, then like you're not going to use the condom.
Right. Even though like the whole point of it, if you're having sex with multiple partners, the main point of it should be STI prevention.
Yeah.
Well, and so one thing that I learned from this article is that condom use is down, especially among gay and bisexual men and young people in general.
No.
So over half of the new cases in the current report occurred among 18 or occurred among 15 to 24-year-olds. So what this really is bad sex education.
Yeah. Damn.
Like, even more so.
I really thought sex ed was getting better, or like outside school sex
No.
ed.
No, because what do we know about this age group as well? Their main form of sex ed is porn. And how often do we see condoms used in porn? Almost never, but it's because they have a rigorous STI testing.
Yeah.
So like what kids don't know when they're consuming porn, and they're seeing all these people have condomless sex, they're seeing, oh, these are people who are fucking a bunch of people.
Yeah.
They're not using condoms.
Yeah.
I don't have to use condoms. And it's like, no, this is their professional job, and they get tested before they do this. So, and on top of that, sex education definitely not improving. We only have mandated sex ed in 39 states, including the District of Columbia, and only 18 of those states dictate that it needs to be medically accurate.
I know, it's so fucked up.
So fucked up.
When we
We'll
were in
say it
college-
again in this podcast.
When we were in college, it was only 13 states to be medically accurate. So like that's really great that 5, passed.
But it's still under 50%.
That's just insane.
So the big takeaway here, right?
Bag it up.
Stop using porn as your sex ed and start using condoms.
Or consume ethically made porn that shows condoms ain't being put on. Amateur porn. Balesa porn.
But also still don't use that as your sex education.
It's just like, why would you not use a condom? Make condoms cool again.
Like, and I know that, I don't use condoms. I'm in a relationship. We are not having sex with other people.
You have the
but you don't
privilege.
always use condoms. Why not?
The times where I haven't used a condom this past year has been with the guy that I was seeing. Not, we didn't decide that we were exclusive, but I was not having sex with anyone else, and I just assumed he wasn't.
Yeah,
'cause we
I
were
feel like
hanging out every
that's,
weekend.
well, I feel like that's something people do too. That it's like, well, I know I'm exclusive, but you can't trust a hoe.
So I used to think that my trick into being exclusive with a guy would be like, hey, don't you want to not use condoms? Like,
Yeah, he's just gonna fuck other people still.
So I did have a conversation with him about like if he's having sex with other people, and I was like, well, I'm not. So if you're not, then we, don't have to use condoms. I know that he got tested. So we talked about the safety stuff, and I had been tested before we slept together. Then I slept with the lawyer, with my ex, and I did not use a condom because I was a bad girl.
Yeah.
And mistakes happen.
But that's the thing, though, is like the big takeaway: mistakes happen, but be diligent.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Just
On
keep some
to you,
condoms in
Arielle.
your nightstand.